Now, our first speaker is a lifelong Republican and a candidate for governor for the state of Georgia. He prefers to be called a constitutionalist, as he rejects the globalist socialist agenda of many of our politicians and strongly supports a return to the original principles of our founding fathers. By trade, he is a businessman who produces radio and television commercials. By passion, he is a statesman, boldly declaring we live in perilous times and fervently advocating a return to the Constitution and to limited federal government that our founding fathers envisioned. Please welcome back to the stage a lifelong native of Georgia, an organizer of today's event, and your friend and mine, Ray McBerry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to change hats now. I'm going to begin this speech. I thought about doing something a little bit different. I'm going to start this speech, though, the same way that I have started every single speech I have given across the state of Georgia for the last 10 months. And I figured it up the other day. I have spoken on the subject of states' rights and state sovereignty now in this governor's race more than 160 times over the last 9 or 10 months across the state of Georgia. Most of the time, the crowds ranged in size around 100 people. So that's a whole lot of people beginning to hear about states' rights and state sovereignty here in Georgia. But I want to start the same way that I start every single one of those meetings. And let me tell you, I start these meetings the same way whether they are excited, enthusiastic Tea Party crowds or if they're dry, dull, usually dead GOP breakfasts. So I'm going to start by asking you two questions, and hopefully you're awake this morning. The first question I want to ask is this: how many of you in the room this morning would agree that we'd all be better off with a little less federal government in our lives? And the follow-up is, how many of you would agree we'd all be better off with a lot less federal government in our lives? And I want you to know that that is the same response that I have gotten to that question every single place that I have spoken, including those normally dry, dull, dead GOP breakfasts. Because Americans are waking up to the fact that there is a cultural war being waged against us here in our own country. And I want to talk to you about that. You know, it really doesn't matter if we're talking about Obama health care or if we're talking about illegals trying to register to vote in our own state elections, or here in Georgia, if we're talking about the water rights battle currently going on between Washington and the state of Georgia, Washington trying to tell us what we will or won't do with our own natural resources, or if we're talking about the attacks, the infringements upon one liberty after another, including the right to keep and bear arms. Those and a myriad of other issues that currently face Americans in every state all have their solution in one very single, simple, peaceful constitutional solution, and that is the 10th Amendment and states' rights.